we study a lot of politics, and we are interested in many things. But you told me a little bit of nugget about your history that I found really interesting. Can you elaborate? Can you tell me the story a little bit more?
Okay. So basically, my dad was born in Israel, and so I have family there also, and doesn't have to do anything in that. But I'm Jewish, so it's like it's like the whole mixture of it, in one pot.
Every single possibility you could have gotten in there, you had.
So I often get asked about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and it's always a very interesting conversation to have with people that are open-minded. It's very hard for me to talk with people that have a very clear idea and are not willing to accept other opinion because of certain arguments or that sometimes are different from every perspective.
I had an awful experience today, actually. I study at a public university. Public universities can be politically very varied, but the public universities in Spain tend to be very left-wing. And I did an exposition today about gender and sexuality in the 21st century, and how we have a couple problems to fix. That it's a sociology class. It's pretty interesting. It's about how it's related to population collapse. The point is that the basis of the explanation is that, at least for me personally, I believe that gender isn't just a social thing. So I believe that there's a biological basis to why you're a man and she's a woman. Okay. And there's people in my class who don't think like I do. And I'm always expecting that because, I'm from a different country. I expect there to be some backlash on many things, and including gender. Like, I know that there's people, I know exactly who the people in my class are that believe that gender is completely fluid and that is totally a social thing. And I see them and I have conversations with them, and I've never had a problem with them. But what does kill me, what does affect me very much is the loss of common courtesy of having that person be educated enough to ask you an educated question and like have a conversation about why they think that their side is correct and why I think that my side is correct. And then I was doing this exposition today in class, and there weren't many people in class because it's the end of the semester. Everybody wants to leave. And there was a couple people listening to me very intently, and they were literally laughing their asses off and taking pictures in the corner. And
in class,
in the middle of the class. And I didn't get mad at the moment. Like, I didn't get mad with them. I didn't do anything, but it pissed me off internally so much because they're the type of people who are always like, you should be more inclusive and you should accept people. But whenever you're not on their side, they come out guns blazing like you. And then when it's their turn to be accepting and nurturing, they laugh in your face. And I hate that. So I understand what you mean. Like, having a good conversation about a controversial topic has to have a certain standard of like, education and courtesy.
It also has to do with what you were saying before. It's like when people have the ability to properly communicate and they also have some sort of notions of what are the best dynamics for communication to flow, like the outcome is so much more productive than when you're just like stuck in your position, and also you don't know how to properly articulate your thoughts, because that's another problem. Maybe when someone's trying to say something and they say something completely different, it comes off super wrong. It's happened to me, Like the ability of being able to properly put words into things and write it or like say it is also so relevant into that.
Of course, but I mean, you can, if you're with someone that has like a different way of talking, you can also, adapt and try to fit, everybody's way. It's I always use the example of like, if you're in front of someone that's racist, often it's because of miseducation. It's because they're missing some information in order to have like proper critical thinking, and like you're gonna have that two people, like that person that's gonna be like upset and mad and not understand why those people think like that, and then why they're racist and everything, and then you can also like be more understandable and try to understand why they think like that, and make them understand why they shouldn't they shouldn't take all the information into one basket and be able to open their mind, so like don't no violence, peace. You know, it's like talk about it. You know?
Yeah. I had a conversation in my class about the gender gap, the gender wage gap, and I've studied it pretty well. And so what's been put out in the news, or what was put out in the news 2017, 2018, when the wage gap was like full on, and most of the news said that a man would be paid more than a woman for the same job, and that's it. That was the black and white uniform picture that they were putting up for us to debate about. And then I started watching videos, and then I found a really good explanation. I was like, oh my God, this makes so much more sense. And it makes me feel so much more secure and clear about what I know is wrong with the world. And it was like, okay, if you break down the reasons why the wage gap exists, it's like a multivariate problem with like 58 things contributing to it. And one of them, and it's like 5% of the problem, is sexism. Like,
okay,
guys, you're right. There's sexism in society. It's 5% of the wage gap.
What do you do with the rest?
What about the fucking rest of it? And it's like, is it a problem? Is it not a problem? And how do you address it? And it's like 40% of the problem is that men do some of the most dangerous jobs.
We were speaking about that today in class.
We discussed that with the teacher,
and
actually.
Our professor was like, if they wanted to come back, they'd be like, I'm getting killed or you're not, so stop your bullshit.
Yeah. One of them is like the army. Like one of the countries with the active army is Finland, because they 13.4 kilometer border with Russia. It makes sense. They have a pretty big army, active army. So 5 out of every 4 men in Finland are army certified. 2 out of every 3 women are certified.
And what we're saying also, for example, they were speaking about the firefighters here in Spain, that to pass, like to become that, you need to pass sort of like a very hardcore physical test.
Yeah.
And it's very low or almost non-existent, the amount of women that you have in the firefighters workforce. And now they sort of made the test a bit less complicated in order to allow women to go in. And then people in class are saying,
you're going to die.
You're messing with people's lives there. Yeah. And to what extent is that as relevant for you to, sacrifice others in order to make things equal?
Yeah. There's the other, which is like the companies that are hiring 50-50 men, 50-50 men and women. And it's like, well, if you have an engineering company and every single engineering company in the world hired 50-50 men and 50-50 women, then you're compromising productivity, because it's impossible to have... in a body of 300 engineers, have the 50 most qualified and the 300 most qualified engineers. They won't be 50-50 men and women, because there's less women engineer, and so the bell curve is statistically impossible for there to be equally qualified. But you could say exactly the same thing for doctors. You'll have more women doctors than men doctors who are qualified for the job. It's really fun. The whole wage gap thing is fun, but the worst feeling that I've had lately is feeling ashamed to say my own views, because I know that there's people that are going to disagree with me. That's been the worst part.
Okay. Pero bueno. Well, now that we're speaking about relationships and uncomfortable with two, we were speaking before about like friendships, and like how it plays. And the other day we were having a discussion on the table.
Big discussion.
Okay.
It was like, can a boy and a girl actually be friends without any sort of like, how do you describe it? Come on.
Like intimacy. Just kind of...
Without being attracted.
Yeah, male and female, like be friends together without having any like other thoughts behind it. It's like...
And I told him, I think for a guy to be friends with a girl, he needs to find them attractive. Tipo... I think that's a prerequisite.
For a guy to be friends with a girl, the guy has to find her attractive.
O sea, they don't need... He doesn't... Tipo, o sea, pero le tiene que parecer linda. He wouldn't be friends with an ugly girl. That's my point.
I disagree.
I disagree totally.
I disagree.
Yeah. But there's another interest then. Tipo, you want the homework from her. You see what I mean?
What?
So if you don't find her pretty, then you need something else from her.
No, I disagree.
Why do you need stuff from your friends?
Yeah, exactly.
I just think like... O sea, maybe there's a very biased perspective pero I think como boy-girl like friendships, they do it, o sea, they're not necessarily uninterested.
Okay. Let's see. Things aren't black and white. Let's see this. Dichotomies make us poor. So let's not dichotomize the problem. It's not that you can't have ugly friends and you can't have pretty friends. And it's not that friendships don't give you anything, or that friendships
I'm not saying they don't give you anything.
Purely interest based, okay? What I'm saying is there is something that defines why you have a relationship with people and why you have friendship with people. Some of it is situational. Some of it is we grew up in the same place and fuck that. And we're friends. That's one.
Voila.
Connection is another. Like, connection isn't easy for human beings. We aren't the type of people, at least you've seen this before. Like, you've come to Spain and spent a bit of a while before you were like, oh yeah, I've found people who I can actually connect with. That same thing happens. Like, you don't date the first guy that comes up. You have to wait until you find a guy that actually, you know, makes a good connection, right? So connection is valuable. For me, a friendship is the purest level of connection. It's having a relationship in which you can... your souls can touch.
Qué romántico.
That's super. It sounds super stupid, but I mean it. Like, when you can have a conversation with someone that you can touch the essence of that person. That's what a friendship is for me. Like, having that level of connection with someone.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, no, it's like
no judgment.
Personally, I believe men and women can have perfect friendly relationship. Like, I
agree.
have a lot of girlfriends.
He has a lot of girlfriends.
Exactly, and it's, you know, it's like there's no behind thoughts and everything. I have my beautiful girlfriend. I'm very happy and in love. You know, it's like I don't need more.
Yeah.
You know, but I do agree in general, and even I talk about that with them. And like in general, I think like guys have usually, like, you know, they're good at fucking it up. You know, and
Very.
A friend told me something that really stuck in my mind. It's like, you know, if the girl at some point will ask the guy to fuck, there would be a good probability for it to happen. So like, in general, I think, you know, like relationship is possible, but I do believe in general that like there's like this question that's being asked and being talked about.
There's risk.
Because like often from one side, okay, it's not always the man, okay? But often, you know, it happens that there's like some deep, like international thoughts in case, you know, it happens, like, you know, like I'm free, you want to do it, you know?
Yeah, we were talking about this with my brother in the episode we did with him, which is like men proposition women like 90% of the time. The 10% that women proposition men, it's men who aren't single. It's men who are in a relationship.
Ah, bueno, eso que estaba, que tipo, there's nothing more handsome than that handsome boy with a girlfriend.
Yeah, because my brother said it perfectly. That's a fucking fact. Like, it's true. There is this sense of like you become more attractive to women when there's another woman that is approved of you. Okay, and then
Cuidadito.
I've done this before, and I've had this discussion with my girlfriend before. And one of the things that I understand, even though I don't necessarily agree, because it's like, wait, is she trusts me perfectly. She doesn't trust that bitch.
No, exactly. She said exactly the same thing.
She doesn't trust that bitch. It's totally fine. But my position has been the following. Look, I have a lot of friends who are girls probably for different reasons than you, but like I had a very good relationship with women growing up, and I didn't have the best relationship with men growing up. I was bullied in high school, had a couple of close friends who were guys, and that was it. I didn't need any more guy friends. Okay. And I had a lot of friends who were girls. I was the kind of guy in high school that you could come up to and say really bad stuff that happened to you, and I wouldn't say anything. And, you know, I was that kind of guy in high school. So I ended up having a lot of friends who were girls. And when you're in a relationship, and I was in a relationship a lot of the time when I was growing up, I've always been the having a girlfriend type of guy when I was growing up. Like, I was always practicing for the right relationship, you know, this one. And then at some point, it would always happen that somebody would like find me attractive. Most of the time, I wouldn't realize they were even trying something with me. I would think they were just being friendly, and I would be like living my life. And then if anything ever did happen that was weird, it was like, I have a girlfriend. I'm not really interested. But I think that my policy so far has been, you're innocent until proven guilty. Okay? If my girlfriend tells me, look, I don't like this girl, she's giving me really bad vibes, I say, look, she's my friend, and as long as she follows the boundaries of my relationship with you, as long as she respects the boundaries of my relationship with you, and she doesn't come out and say, I like you, I can respect that. If she sleeps up for a second,
Okay, but because I agree with you on that point, but what's sleeping up like?
I had a case with a friend of mine who we saw each other and everything was fine. And my girlfriend was like, I don't like that girl. And I was like, okay, I will listen to you. I will be very much more aware to see if there's something weird going on.
Okay.
And then there's two ways that this can happen. She can literally confront you and tell you, and that could happen. It hasn't happened to me. It could be like, I love you and I need to be with you. And you're like, ha ha ha, bye. But most times it's more subtle than that. And most times it's going to try to be a power game. So there's a lot of girls, whether you believe it or not, that try to artificially get closer to you and show your girlfriend that they're closer to you so that they make her jealous and create tension in the relationship. So I was in a party with my girlfriend, and this girl, friend of mine, she was visiting, went to say hi to her, and 5 minutes later she was trying to like perrear,
I'm gonna dance on him.
Okay.
like, dance on me with reggaeton. Yeah.
Exacto.
And like I saw it about to happen, and my brother was next to me, and I did like to my brother, and he was like, my brother and I, really good connection. So like, I saw my brother, and he was like, oh, I got it. And he got in the middle of it. And I literally grabbed my girlfriend, went out of the club, and I said, never talking to her again. Never have.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, that's a very clear, like...
Yeah.
Okay.
There's intention right there. My girlfriend's right in front of you. You know what you're doing. I'm not going to stand for that. That's it. That's my limit. As long as you negotiate a limit.
Okay.
The limit that you're comfortable with.
Exactly. That's what I want to like comment on, the limit, because I have a very different like approach. Like just in general, I'm a very tactile person.
Yeah, okay.
It's like I have my feminine side, and I'm very proud of it, and that's why I think I've had like so many friends. Girlfriends.
Friends who are girls.
I don't know what to say. Friends who are girls, exactly. and I've always been, it's like there when they had a problem, it's like, and I'm someone that's very emotional, so like I love having hugs, like little like canitos and everything. How do you say in Spanish? Caninitos.
Okay.
And so
you say it very well.
And so like when like Ariana is my first like girlfriend, I had some very like encounters in my life, but she's my first real like OG
serious
girlfriend.
Yeah.
Exactly, and like of course she wasn't very happy with like the way I behave with women, but she knew also like what she was getting into. But we had like a lot of talks on it, and like I told her like you can meet them if you want, and like you can make your own opinion. And I think when she came to Belgium and she met my like girlfriends, it's like there like she realized, okay, like we're just friends, it's like I love giving hugs, it's like of course like there's a limit of hugging, it's like you cannot like go beyond something, but it's like like I agree that like I would not accept like Ariana to tell me like which girl I need to like focus, like be careful on, or like not, except if I see something that I believe is wrong, I will listen and understand, but then like I would not do the same for her. For example, like, this comes also with like jealousy, it's like I'm not a jealous person, and she knows it. She's depends on the times, but it's like you need to make it healthy. It's like I trust her to do whatever she wants, and of course I don't trust the guys that surround her, like all the guys. But I know that she will never do anything, and like so. I put it like that,
Right.
And I think it's the same for her,
It's like the thing is, I think we've never had a situation like yours, perhaps first. Come on, one thing that it's really like, well, it's like if I see something, even if it's the smallest thing, I'm gonna go like, cuidadito.
Like, that's mine.
It's like, and he's never had a problem with me saying that. Perhaps in the beginning, but now it's more like I just say it, because I also know him, and I trust him. So it's just like, this is what I see. What do you think? And he can agree or disagree.
Yeah.
Ça va, it's fine. But I trust him a lot, So it's like I don't think we've had any extreme situations, perhaps like yours, where it has been like, no.
I like not same as yours, but
Okay.
like look, like just explain how you felt at the beginning.
What?
You see what I mean?
Sí. At the beginning, it was more like, first I thought all the girls were on top of him. Y era como que, are you not seeing this? Tipo, it's there.
Again, this is not normal
what
for
else
me.
do I need to explain? And I was like, Nick, genre, I cannot be crazy about it. And he was like, but they're my friends, you know, and like I'm not gonna change the way I act towards them. Like, okay, it's fine, but this is how I feel, you know. And I feel like he also kind of understood it with time. Also, things change with time. But yeah, I do think I'm a bit jealous with that. It's like if I see something, I'm gonna say it.
Right.
Tipo, I saw that.
But that's good, and I always say like I think it's like for me there's a difference with like pure jealousy that's unhealthy and like cute jealousy. It's like the way she like tells me things. For me, it's cute. It's like it's protective, and I understand. And I think that's also like something that changed a lot in a relationship is the fact that at some point after a few months, I understood that my way of like treating others, especially girls, could be very like annoying.
Could potentially be
Ouais.
a source of jealousy.
Like therefore, it's like I didn't change, but I adapted, and I became extremely open on like all my relationship I had, with girls, like my friends, like so that she knew everyone.
Exactly.
And like if I could present them to one another, and she became friends with like most of them, and like at the same time, it's like, okay, I managed to understand, there's some things, that you do and some you don't, because I used to have this problem even with some friend in high school that like, they thought I was like trying to get their girlfriend, but I was just, like very good friends with them. And so they were super jealous on me. And I was like, but I'm just, they were just friends, and I had a lot of problem with that, even with like my own friends, where I had to explain like, look, I have no interest, it's like, I'm just a very good friend. That's how I behave. And like, I'm also tactile with guys, it's like, I need hugs. I need like laugh, handshakes.
That's totally fine. I mean, boundaries are something that you put. I remember when we did the episode with Eduardo and he said like, how much sex is too much sex? And it's like, the amount that you feel comfortable with is too much or too little. And that's the same thing. If you feel comfortable with the amount of touch that you're having with the other person, the only thing that you have to take into consideration is how comfortable you are with making your partner uncomfortable. Okay? So you have adapted to a point where she has to move, you have to move a little, and then you have a compromise. I feel like that's totally fine. I have a lot less friends who are girls now than I did before. Okay. And I think that I've always been, when I was younger, I was more a quantity over quality. Okay. And I think that I have this problem where I'm very good at creating connection very quickly with people, and I'm very good at reading.
It's not a big problem.
It's a problem. It's a problem because I feel like I know people very, very well, and to a certain extent, I do know a part of their character very well, but I don't know them very well. Sometimes there was of course exceptions, but then I had like this roster of like a lot of friends, and then I only really knew a couple of them, and I thought that I knew them very well, and the ugly things that they thought that I knew them super well too. And again, to an extent I did. It's not like I faked anything, but I was forcing the connection to be as strong as possible from the beginning. And I've kind of started to like the idea of like marinating the relationship, like letting it just go on its own, get us like my girlfriend's best friend here. I have never sat down to have like a long conversation with her, but every time that I see her, I get this good feeling that we have a better friendship. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's something that didn't used to happen, because I would just like start talking to you, get a giant boost, and then like I could get another giant boost like a year later, and that was it. And for me, since I've been with my girlfriend and I've adapted the way that I talk to people, I have way less friendships than I had before, in a sense, but my friendships are much stronger than they were before. And I feel like that's the goal. Your partner also refines you. There's probably stuff that could have gone wrong in your life if you hadn't changed this about yourself now. Of course. Maybe you're 45, 50, and your friends are all married and all the husbands want to kill you. That's probably not a good idea either. And I was going to ask you, because we were talking about your internship.
Yes.
Where you're doing an internship with Greenpeace, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. So, I mean, basically, I've always been interested into environmental aid, and I've always tried to be aware of what's happening, because I don't know, I've always been like, a really nature guy. Like my friends were playing like PlayStation and everything, and I was like going to play around the field. I guess that's how it started, and I got very like influenced by like what's happening, you know. And so I started to get more interested. And last year I done an internship on people with non-housing difficulties, you know, in Belgium, and it was very interesting. But I would really like to focus on like more environmental aid. So when I saw that I had the opportunity of having like externship with Greenpeace, I was very excited. And basically, the main idea of that externship is, if you don't know what's an externship, is remote internship.
Okay.
You know, so first of all, I think that's very important for the future, as we're gonna have more and more remote jobs.
Yeah.
So it's very good to learn like a different method of work. And second of all, being able to work for Greenpeace is like a dream for me. You know,
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
a golden opportunity.
Exactly. It's like, it's the holy grail for me. You know, it's like, I want to work into the environmental like field, like having work with them will bring me a lot, you know? And right now, the major goal of the externship, because I've just started, so I cannot say I've done so much, but it's basically understanding Gen Z's idea of like the environment and what's happening, and understanding how much they are doing and how we can influence this generation, which is going to become, the generation which will have influence on the policies of tomorrow, to get them into, being more aware, more into interaction, with like climate change and everything that's happening. And it's going to be a lot of research on that. And so I'm very excited, as you can.
Yeah. Awesome. I find it amazing.
The environmental boy. He was a veggie boy before. He
Really?
didn't eat meat or chicken. When we started dating, Joe, I had tofu forever. I never eaten tofu before, and one day he's like, "Cook, yo, what?"
Like coming to Venezuela and eating so much meat, she was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
It's like how do you leave from that?
It's like, do you only eat carbs and veggies? What do you do?
My girlfriend's an ovo-pescatarian, so she drinks eggs and fish.
Okay.
And we've slowly been converting her into eating other stuff.
She
so
went
now
on
she
Muhammad
eats
Affair, but
cheese
it was his own decision.
and ham and she's like, oh, I might start eating chicken again. I'm like, yes, we're winning the war.
Okay, wait. Well, I have a good point to make on that, because it's always very important for me to express that, is that, you don't need to stop eating meat. That's not the principle of it. Of course, people become like vegetarian, they stop eating meat. That's amazing for the planet, but that's not what we need. It's like, there's a study that shows that if every human being stop eating half of the meat consumption they originally eat a day, it will solve a lot of problems,
Yeah.
And that's how I started. It's like getting aware of what was happening. I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna eat less meat, but without forcing myself. In my family, we haven't been big carnivorous people. We never ate like a huge amount of meat, and so slowly starting becoming less and less, like once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month. And at some point, before my gap year, I became vegetarian for like 5 months. And since I arrived in South America,
Because he went for a year to South America.
Yeah, I went for a year in South America. And I had to stop in South America.
Yeah.
I lasted like a month without eating meat. And the problem is that it was very hard, at least for me, to find meals that are fulfilling without meat. I was in Peru at that time, in Cusco.
Oh no, you're not. Peru is.
So I had a very difficult time. So I had to stop, of course, like eat meat. It wasn't like the worst thing that ever happened to me, but like I was quite determined. And then when I came back from my gap year, I decided that I would restart becoming vegetarian, even though it was not going to be my whole life. But I wanted to have this experience, at least, because I was eating so like less meat than before, like, might as well try it, for the experience. And I did that for a year, and it was amazing. I just remember going to like a Mexican place with her parents when I was vegetarian.
That was the most funny thing ever.
And like, I just like they all order like, you know, tacos with meat and everything.
Ajá,
And they're like,
cochinilla, no sé qué, cochino, pollo y pescado.
and they're like, what do you want? And I'm like, can I have the tacos with the lettuce wrap, please? And they were
Like, no
"What are you
meat.
doing?"
My dad was like, what are you doing? No, eran unos tacos de lechuga, una cosa así, tipo, eran solo vegetales. Y mis papás dije,
What? They were like, are you sure it's fine with you? Like, are you sure you're gonna have enough? And I was like, yeah, it's okay. You know?
And then he ate everything except for those. Pero bueno, and how's the cultural clash going for us?
Good question. Honestly, I think it's going well.
Sí.
You know, it's like I've you know, after my gap year, I was very in love with the whole South American culture, which is super vague. So you know, it's like, but I really like it. You know, like everything I did was very pleasant, and every culture that was shown to me, I had a really like good time like learning about it. And I think, you know, it's like the fact that you came from South America maybe helped a bit, you know, the fact, the culture clash, even though it was still like very big, I think, into like food, routine wise and everything. But also the fact that we have been always educated into like an international
environment.
Yeah.
Exactly, has made it way easier. But it's true that living with someone and sharing like your daily life and having completely different like, you know, routines is an experience. You know, it's like it takes a bit of time to acclimate. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, for example, there's this small thing. It's like, you know, back home we used to buy in bulks. So it's like, I have 2 big freezers in my house. And because my mom used to buy for the month, en fait. Tipo, we had 12 harina pan, 12 cartones de leche, huevos para todo el mes. And he buys one or half. So, and he's like, I'll buy the next one when this one's over. He's like, bro, I don't want to wake up in the morning and not have milk for my coffee.
Wow, it's crazy.
For me, it's like I just opened the door of the kitchen, and if it was not in the fridge, it was gonna be like in the counter. It's not like I had to go to the supermarket and get it. So it's like, for me, it's like I need to have milk in the morning, so I go in and buy it beforehand.
Yeah.
And he's like, you don't have to buy 2, you just have to buy 1. It's like, no, because when this one's over, I want to have the other one there.
I would have my mom would buy like yearly a box of toothpaste.
Dude.
Yearly,
Like a box full of little toothpaste, and you could buy one year and then not buy toothpaste for 2 years.
Sí, sí. Pero es que we sort of like work como like that. You stock up. Because I think we just prepared for
The worst.
You also explained that
Sí.
in Venezuela during the last decade, you know, there was like
shortages.
Exactly. So it was also a more like need than, you know, like want sort of situation.
It's true, but at the same time, have you ever seen The Big Bang Theory?
No.
Well, in The Big Bang Theory, there's an episode where Sheldon is trying to get Penny to buy all the tampons she's ever going to use because inflation will make them more expensive in the future. And if you buy them now,
bueno, eso es verdad.
if you buy toothpaste for the next 2 years, you're going to be saving money because the toothpaste will get more expensive with time. And so at some point, buying the toothpaste that you would have bought 2 years ago would cost you like twice as more. So
good argument. Good argument.
It's like also I hadn't thought about it, but of course it makes sense. It's like we have such
Venezuela,
a high inflation that the next week the milk was going to be double as it was the week before.
So you had to buy it as fast as possible.
But yeah,
I was going to ask you a prissy question. Like I was just going to mess with you. So I imagine you believe in climate change.
Yes.
Okay, so there's this theory that supports the idea that the world has been getting hotter and colder in extremes for a very long time. And that, yes, we are contributing to climate change because it's impossible to deny that we aren't contributing. Of course we are. But that the reason why the climate's getting hotter isn't just the climate change, and it's actually not the majority of the problem, but the hot and cold cycle of the Earth that is like thousands and thousands of years old. So what would your opinion be if climate change isn't the main reason?
Okay, can you repeat your question?
So,
just to make
would
sure?
you agree that if you saw the evidence, how would your life change now? And saying like, okay, so climate change isn't the main thing. Or it's not just us fucking the world. Maybe it's just the world going through its natural cycle.
The thing is, in some ways, it's true. Like the world is actually going to like cycles, so that there's not like nothing to prove wrong. It's only that it has been accelerated by human, defects. You know, it's like. The world is not supposed to go that fast into like temperature changes, you know? And there was also this mistake that was done by scientists a few years ago, calling like climate change réchauffement climatique, warming,
global warming.
Global warming, you know? And that's why we don't call it global warming anymore.
Yeah, because global warming isn't accurate.
Exactly. So I don't like. Of course, if I see the evidence in a if situation, I will just try to put my knowledge into that new evidence.
Yeah.
But like human do advance climate change, and we are a reason for why everything is happening so fast, and all the catastrophes that's happening. Of course, it's not the only reason. It's, as you mentioned before, there's 50 reasons. That's one of them. But it's what we can change as people, and it's also the main it's the main thing we can do as human to
it's the least we can do.
Exactly. You see what I mean?
It's the least we can do for the world, make it less contaminated and like that.
Beautiful diplomatic response,
right? So this is. I think we can end with a couple.
I have one last before wrapping up.
Okay. So I have a question that isn't wrap up. Okay, it's open up. Okay. So there's something sinister about the climate change movement. So there's people who genuinely believe that humans are trash because we're doing bad things to the world, and have suggested, I'm not saying you are, I'm saying there's people that have suggested that we should not reproduce, because reproducing and creating more children is just contaminating the world more, and making more of us is irresponsible. I feel personally that's genocidal level theories. That shouldn't even be stated. And there's a couple of highly regarded Harvard professors who said stuff like this. And it's really? My question is, what do you feel we should do as a population, as world, or as people? I want to have kids. What do we do in a world that climate change says is going to be fucked up pretty quickly?
Okay, so I've discussed honestly this question a few times with a few people, and I think nowadays more and more young adults don't want to have kids. That's something I've seen over the course of my own experience, at least. But I don't believe that you should not have kids for what's going to happen in the future. It's that's something I personally disagree completely with. I can understand you may have this idea of you don't want to raise children into the society we have today, but as we saw, we are in the best times of humanity right now, and in 20 years we're probably going to be in the best times of humanity then. So I don't believe it's a good argument to combat climate change to stop making children. I want children. I want to educate my children and to make them aware, so I don't think that's the solution into resolving this problem.
I agree with you totally.
Quite clear.
100% agree with you.
Beautiful. Okay, but my question is basically, you always say, according to your motto, is the one thing you're scared of is regretting something, right? Come on, being regretful of something that you did not do, right? So how's that going so far? People, how do you feel about your life at the moment?
I'm good. You know me, but I always try to see positive side in everything, even though I appear different and I can be super negative. At the end of the day, I'm happy. I'm very lucky. I've always been well treated, educated, taken care of. I have the biggest luck ever. That's how I see my life every day. And that's why we already talked about it. It's having regrets is not going to help your future self, you know? And not having regret does not mean that you've done only good things. But I do believe that having regrets is stopping you from evolving, and that only for me, the word regret, I don't like. It has negative connotation, because when you have a regret, it means you cannot change it. When you've done a mistake, you can always do better in the future. So, of course, for me, it's how you see, the glass, half full, half empty. But it's I don't think having regrets will help anyone in their life, because it's already done and we cannot do anything about it. And I hear a lot of people often saying like, yeah, I regret that I did this or this. And I'm trying to make them understand that you can regret it for a day, but after you have to, like, you know, regretting it is not going to make you feel better or make the situation better. So might as well think it's a mistake, and every time you fall, you get back up. Then you have one fall, and then you focus on that for your entire life, you know.
Yeah, and your mistakes make you.
Exactly.
That's why they're not. They shouldn't be regrets. They're the things that build you into the person that you are.
Exactly, and like I have, you know, like things that I'm not the most proud of, but I'm proud of like how I managed today to, you know, make them change, you know, and like for me that is the most important. Like being able to tell yourself now, okay, I'm happy with the values I have and how I perceive everything. And, you know, I want to be happy with my life now and before. You know, I don't want to tell myself like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. Like, it's done. It's done. Might as well say, okay, I shouldn't have done it. It's done. Next time, I don't do it. You know, or I do it differently. You know, and for me, I've always, you know, like been very persistent with that point of like, try to learn from your mistake. And I'm the first one to tell you how many mistakes I've done, you know, and like, and that is why, you know, you should just get up, always get up, get up, get up, and fall and get up. You know, it's like a cycle.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow, mo cheap.
You know why, right?
Because no one
Gets away
with anything.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Ya, tengo una última pregunta.
Oh shit! Sorry. Go ahead.
Chibi, tell us your favorite word in Spanish.
Can I say
Go ahead.
it?
Yeah, you can say it.
Mama huevo.
And on that note, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcast from. We'll see you again next week. We hope you enjoyed today. I enjoyed today.
Sí.
It was
And
lovely. Thank you very
Chibi.
much.
Gracias
Thank
por
you.
venir.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I love this. Bye. Thank you.
Wow, this is everything.
Uf, estuvo buenísimo, me la espalda, pero bueno.
It was raining.
That was very nice.
Yeah, I